about you just give a quick introduction of who you are?
Yeah, thanks. Well, first off, thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely.
It's a lot of fun. First off, I'm a classically trained certified sommelier and a hospitality professional as well. I've worked for and curated wine and cocktail and spirits programs for high-end restaurants, luxury hotels and resorts, private clients also. And recently just got into the supplier side of the business, working for producers and things like that.
Right. And where did you grow up?
I grew up here in L.A., so, we were talking about this the other day, how I was born and raised in Los Angeles, and I'm now the minority amongst everyone else in my industry.
Yeah, no one is really from L.A., right? Everybody's a transplant. And how did you pursue a career like this in wine and spirits?
There's two answers to the question. There's the funny answer, and then there's the professional answer, but both of them are true. And when people ask me, how did you get started in wine and spirits, it's the answer is, I really enjoy drinking.
Yes.
And I was working in the automotive industry before this, right? And so I was developing automotive suspension systems and motorcycle suspension systems and all that. And the financial crash of 2008 happened. And then so after that point, that kind of business was hard to come by. I then partnered with a friend of mine, family friend, to start a coffee roasting company.
Okay.
And that was my first taste in hospitality. So granted, I owned the cafes and roasted the beans and served them to the guests and started to build a staff. That relationship that I started to build with my customers inspired me to do something else in service. And then I really thought about it, and I said, how much coffee can you really drink, right?
Yeah.
How much can you pay, right? How much would you pay for a cup of coffee? And then I kind of took this business idea and this fact that I love drinking so much, and I put them together. And I said, I think that if we took this service aspect cafe idea that we had and turned it into wine, for example, people will pay pretty good amount for wine.
Yes.
And they'll drink more than 1 or 2 cups. And it kind of just went from there.
They can indulge.
And I remember that moment. Like I was parting ways with that company, and with the coffee company, and I knew at some point I really had to make this new direction, And I had taken out a lot of loans, personal guarantees. I've been living on credit cards. I just started this company. And so I had to sell my collection of cars, my motorcycles, watches, everything, and to pay off these debts. And I remember asking my mom if she could loan me money to go to the Culinary Institute and take my somm courses.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. So I took my first Court of Masters exam in 2012, and then I became certified in 2014.
I see.
Yeah.
So you recently got into this business.
Yeah, I started officially in the business in 2012.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And then you were the former somm at Hakkasan.
Yeah. So I was hired at Hakkasan in 2014, shortly after I finished my certified exam, and it was a wild ride, man. Like coming into from this wine bar in Alhambra, the small town cheers, kind of feel. Everybody who walks in is a regular customer of yours. And it's Alhambra, right? So the high-end bottles in Alhambra that you sell and you taste are maybe between $60 and $80, and all of a sudden you're thrown into this world, this glitz glamour, this dizzying world of Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
And there's $1,000 bottles happening, and champagne, and models, and celebrities, and things, and it was really, really wild. But after that, it really gave me a love of Beverly Hills. And it boosted my conquest of Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
Because, after that, I left Hakkasan. I went to work for Scott Conant's Scarpetta restaurant, which was awesome because I love Italian wine. And then after that, I was promoted to run the entire beverage program for the Montage Hotel.
Yeah. I saw that. I did some research before we got to talking today. And also, I really, this is a question I've been dying to ask. So how many times, so when you're training for wine, how many wines are you trying throughout the day at your peak?
Oh man, that's crazy. So it's a broad question, right? So when you're studying wine, you know, like when you're studying to be an accountant, right? You
Yes.
get accounting books and maybe accounting software, and you learn the tools of your trade. It just so happens when you're studying wine, the thing you buy is wine, right?
Yes.
And so when you buy a book, you buy the book and you read it, and it's there. You buy a bottle of wine, and you have to eventually buy another one. And so when I was studying for the exams, it wasn't uncommon for me to drink maybe. Well, I would taste probably 5 to 10 wines a day on average.
Okay.
But you know, you tend to drink that. You know, if you're studying with a group or anything, you tend to drink that many.
Yeah.
And then working professionally in the field, you know, when you're buying wines, a lot of times, you know, what happens is you have the vendors, they come talk to you. So you set an appointment, they bring you, you know, what they want to show you, and you taste through them.
Yeah.
And so you taste anywhere between 2 and 5 wines per appointment. And I would take maybe 3 or 4 appointments a day, so that's 20 wines already. As the day gets started.
As right before lunch, right?
And you know, it's funny. So a lot of people, there's a romance behind tasting wine and this idea. Whenever I would be tasting wines, you've got these glasses, you know, and everyone says, "What a cool job!" And so I ran a contest when I was working at Scarpetta. I had a contest with one of my servers, and I said, "Okay, we're gonna have a contest. Whoever sells the most of, you know, this particular wine we were pushing for the next week will get to go with me." They host this once a year. They host this really, really nice wine tasting.
Yeah.
It's got over 150 different producers there, and they're all the really big names. And I said, you get to come with me to this thing. We get dressed up, dinner, and all these other things, and we get to do this tasting. And so one of my servers won, and she was also studying to be a sommelier, so she was really excited about it. And she shows up, and she's with me. Wine 1, wine 2, wine 3, and she sticks pretty well until wine 10, and then she starts to lose it a little bit.
Oh no.
And we tasted through, and I was there with another colleague of mine, another som, and we probably tasted through, conservatively, I'd say 50 to 60 wines.
How do you find that balance? Because you're consuming a lot of alcohol.
Yeah.
Is there a point where, like, okay, I'm feeling it, and you just take a step back, you take some time, you take some water?
Water's the important one.
Yeah.
And I think when you're fresh to the situation, you kind of think it's a party, and you just kind of enjoy yourself, you know, and you think you're drinking, but you're not, you're working. And so, you know, you have to remember to drink your water. You know, they have little charcuterie and snacks and stuff. Make sure you get some of that in you as well. And you can last a long time, but it's just practice. You know, it's like a marathon runner. You know, they don't just run a marathon.
Yeah. It's one day you're gonna run 6 miles.
Just go.
Yeah.
And so and it was after that she really took an appreciation for what we do, because even after the 40th or 50th wine, I could compare it to the third wine that we had and say, okay, I think this had more fruit or this had better structure, and she had no idea what we were talking about.
And part of the training, so when it comes to like the food pairing, how much of your education how much time do they spend on pairing a red with this, or a white wine with this type of food?
You know, it's interesting because the style of restaurants that I worked in, you know, you have rules, right?
Yeah.
And when you're in the court of master sommeliers, when you start pairing wine with food, there's no chart. There's no, you know, okay, red wine goes with this, and pasta. You know, there's none of that. And a lot of it has to do with your understanding of what the flavors are. You know, so I also, when I studied at Culinary Center, I also like to cook. When you cook and you understand flavors, it's the same thing. So you say, okay, if you're cooking a dish, right? Let's say you're cooking a tomato sauce, and you say, this could use a little bit of lime, or this could use a little bit of salt. Pairing wine is the same way. If you taste a dish and you would like it to have more bright notes to it, you maybe choose like a Sauvignon Blanc or a nice white wine. If you want it to have some heavy red notes, maybe a Pinot Noir, Cabernet Sauvignon. It really depends on your interpretation. And so working at a French restaurant, you tend to French wines, right? And then Italian wine. And so when I was working at Hakkasan, it was my favorite because there's no rules with Chinese cuisine or Asian cuisine.
With the wine, right?
Because
like talking to me, I'm just like, that's actually a really good point that
Yeah.
you bring up. I'm listening. I want to know more.
It's amazing. So when you talk about French and Italian and Spanish, there's rules because those are established pairings, and it's heresy if you pair them wrong, right? If you put a Brunello with a French dish, it's weird. In Hakkasan, the dishes were Chinese, and you know the flavors and the spices that the Chinese cuisine uses are so varied. There's no rules, you know. So I'd be doing, you know, German Riesling with curries. I'd be doing Japanese koshu with fish dishes. I'd be doing Australian Shiraz with stir-fry lobster. no rules. And I think that Asian cuisine is probably the most exciting and the most fun wine pairings because there's nothing you can do wrong.
So it's kind of literally it's like the Wild West.
It's the Wild West.
Wild East.
Yeah.
Right?
Wild West meets East.
No, I think there's definitely a huge market in there. I can go on with like documentaries on like Red Obsession and things like that when it comes to the wine market in China, but I'll save that for another time. And you were previously at Hennessy as well.
Yeah.
So you did wine and now you're in a different type of spirit.
Yeah, it was cool. So when you work long enough in what's called the on-premise side of the business, which is the side where you're the buyer of a product and you serve it to your guests on your premises, you build a lot of relationships and you learn a lot about how products are supposed to move, and you network and meet a lot of people. And so I had a lot of experience with the Hennessy brand.
Yeah.
A lot of it has to do with the fact that cognac has been in my family for forever. I remember drinking my first sip of cognac when I think I was 9 or 10, and I didn't enjoy it, but it stuck in my head as one of those things to drink.
Yeah, I remember trying. Yeah, I don't think any kid likes alcohol. I remember I had some beer and I was like, oh my God, what is this? But yeah.
Wait, look, when you watch, so the way that my family drinks is all the men in my family, like my grandfather and my father, my uncles and everyone, they would do grown-up things. They would sit at one table and drink this golden elixir, and it would look delicious when they were drinking it. And so the first time I tasted it, I thought it would taste like Coca-Cola. And it burned so bad. But the thing that I remember most was the first sip of cognac that I had was that feeling of, I guess, acceptance or being part of the grown-up table. And so emotionally for me, cognac has always been there. And so when I was in the wine world, a transition into cognac was really, really natural for me because I loved it from the start. And so at some point, Hennessy approached me and asked if I'd be interested in representing them across the U.S.
Yeah.
So I started with them in 2017 as the U.S. Prestige Ambassador. So I would travel around the country and speak on behalf of the brand, speaking at events or hosting dinners or tastings, doing sales and marketing support, anything to bring attention and advocacy for the brand. And I represented the luxury marks of Hennessy, so the XOs, the Perdue, Imperial, Hennessy Richard.
Yeah, extra old, right?
That's the big stuff. The big stuff.
And tell me about your company now. So you're the vice president. Do you want to show? Should we get a close up of the bottle?
Where's it? Oh, here.
Yeah, and I'll let you. I'll let you talk about how you got into that. And first and foremost, what is this we're looking at?
So this is Les Antiquaires du Cognac. And I'll tell you about how it happened. So when I was traveling around the different parts of the world, really, through my travels, I met a guy named David, and he and I got along because I love cognac, and he found a relationship with somebody who also loves cognac. And as it turns out, he's from Cognac, so his family is rooted into the cognac region since the mid 1600s. So it's in his blood. It's in the soil is in his fingers. It's awesome. And talking to him and hearing his family's story and what they've done and how they've managed to grow and the history of the region being told by a family rather than a company was something I really, really fell in love with.
Yeah.
And finally getting to taste the product and understand what it's about really drew me into it. Working for Hennessy was awesome because, Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy, right? It's the world's largest luxury conglomerate.
Yeah.
You can get your foot in the door anywhere if you drop that name, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
But you really feel like, and nothing bad about it, but you just feel like a very, very small piece in an enormous machine. As hard as you work, you're still kind of hidden beneath this machine. And so meeting him and getting to know his family and the product and then tasting it, I knew that I had to be a part of it, and then so as the years went by and as we got closer together, we started to draft what our relationship would look like between the two of us. And so now I am partnered with him.
Mm-hmm.
I am the vice president USA for Les Antiquaires du Cognac, and I am charged with the responsibility of telling their story in the United States. And I couldn't be more excited about it. It's like if Enzo Ferrari said, "Hey, Chris, I've got this idea for a car. Can you help me build it?" You'd say, "Yes,
I would love to.
I would." So, so I've got some here, and I think
Yes.
maybe we'll do a tasting about it. What do you think?
I have your glasses too. It's ingrained.
All right, let's
here.
grab that.
But yeah, I'll give that to you.
I'm gonna move the mic here and pour a little bit.
And I was thinking when it came to at least my American friends, like I've been to Asia a lot, and I know it's a huge market over there, cognac. And like can you first off, I want to hear more about this, and then we can go into that afterwards. But what am I tasting for? What am I smelling for?
All right, I can readjust my microphone here. So what makes us special and different is when you how do we get into this? So cognac is made from grapes, right? It's made from wine.
Yes.
So when his family, when they grew up in the region of Cognac, it wasn't known for anything distilled yet. It wasn't known for spirits. It was known for making wine. And so his family actually grew up growing the grapes and making the wine. And it wasn't until the late 1600s into the 1700s where distilling really became important in that part of the world. So what did they do? They built a distillery. And so when they built a distillery, understanding that this was going to be the future of cognac, you really have to distill a lot to make money from it. Because in cognac, you can only distill one time a year, right? So in order to keep the lights on, you have to distill for yourself and for others.
Yeah.
So because they knew how to make wine, they knew how to distill. They knew how to make the right wine for the appropriate amount of distillation to make it work together.
Yeah.
And so because of this, they became very highly regarded as one of the best distillers in the area. Now, by doing this, when somebody's a great distiller, if you have a great wine, you tend to want to work with them. And so automatically they had access to these beautiful wines from select parts of cognac.
Yeah.
And because we do all of everything in-house, we have all the paperwork that says, this was grown here in this vintage in this year, and we distilled it here and we aged it here.
Yeah.
So unlike the big houses, I'm not going to mention their names, right?
Yeah.
But their job is marketing and mass distribution. Their job is not necessarily cognac production. Ours is cognac production. Everything's done in-house. So because we have all the information, we're able to develop a product, not a VSOP, not an XO, not a blend. It's a single distillation, single cru, which means it comes from one region inside of cognac, and it's a single vintage. So when you buy a spirit that says it's 20 years old, 40 years old, XO, VSOP, those are age ranges. This is the actual year that it was produced. So very limited because we can't make another 1973. That's it.
Yeah, I was on the website, and I know that they handwrite everything as well.
Yep.
And you were telling me about like the family history and how special it is.
Yep.
Versus someone like a big box distiller that just like prints and just mass appeal, right?
Yeah.
So even then, I saw that because it's beautiful, like the cursive and everything. It's a very unique bottle. And then what about the wrapping? So they would you say cork it? They bottle it, and then what do they wrap it with?
Yeah, so we wanted to keep the idea of bespoke quality, like small production. When you buy a nice timepiece watch or something, for example, it comes in a nice box with a nice card and all these things. We wanted to keep that same aesthetic, but at the same time keep true to what cognac actually really, really is. And so a lot of the big brands, they've got the crystal and the gold and the big bottles because they're very, very flashy, because they're used for marketing material. Yeah. These bottles, we chose them because this is what we used in cognac. This is what his family always used. This is the shape. This is the traditional bottle that we've used. And wrapping the cord like this is how we kept track of this label. And that's how they keep track of them in the cellar. That's how they know what it is. And so just historically speaking, this is how cognac really is, how it was. And you're right. Each bottle is hand calligraphed, handwritten, so you can see all the information that is on there: the vintage, the region, the bottle number. So this is bottle number 183 out of 4,700.
Oh wow!
And all the information is on there, all handwritten.
I think it's beautiful.
And so, Should we taste it?
Yes. Yes, please.
So what we're tasting, and this is the important thing, is understanding vintage, why it's special. The vintage 1973 was by the measure of making wine really bad. It was really, really cold, the coldest winter in probably 50 years, and that means that you develop a wine that's very high in acid and very low in sugar.
Oh.
Which is very good. It's not good for drinking wine, but it's very good for distilling wine.
Interesting.
So because you have a high acid and such a low sugar content, when you distill it, or when you make wine and you distill it, the alcohol is steady. It's not too hot. It's not too crazy. So 1973 in the region of Framboise. So Framboise is one of the larger appellations of cognac. And it's used, and this is going to get kind of geeky, all right?
I love this. This is the best part of my job, is to hear experts in their field talk. I love this.
The 4 big houses in cognac own 90 to 95% of the business.
Yeah, the market share is insane.
Huge. And so Framboise is a region not really known for its magnificence. It's, I'm sure you've heard Grand Champagne, right?
Yes.
A lot of property is in Grand Champagne, so they tout Grand Champagne being the best, which it's very, very good. But Framboise in the right vintage is magnificent. And the cool thing about it being so big is you can get a lot of yield. So, for example, this is 4,700 bottles produced, but our Grand Champagne produced 900 bottles. That's it. So Framboise is typically a blending eau de vie or distillation. It's usually served on the young side, but in beautiful vintages, cold, unique vintages like 1973, you can create an aromatic and fruity and broad-chested cognac. It's just really kind of flirty, like it's got some strength to it. And that's really what this is. And so I tasted this with you. I'm tasting this with you today because it's the most broadly appealing.
Okay.
We have 3 marks available right now. And this one, I think, is to get you started.
Cheers. Thank you.
So when you experience cognac, the beauty of cognac is, it's like wine in the sense it's wine, right? And so you enjoy it like wine. And so, the first thing you do is appreciate the aromas, because this is where it's going to sound biased.
No.
But there is no spirit. There's no other spirit that has the aromatic complexity of cognac, because you've got the soils, you've got the weather, you've got the grapes, you've got the harvest, the way the wine was made, the yeast that was used, and then you've got the way that it was distilled, and then the place that it was aged, how long was it aged. There's layers upon layers about what happens inside of cognac.
Yeah. And then is like the color, do you look at that in cognac too, or?
Well, you can. So with a lot of the larger brands, they add caramel and food coloring to keep, because they're constantly changing their blend.
Yeah.
So they need to make it look the same.
Yeah.
We don't add any water. We don't add any caramel or sugar or additives, anything like that. The color is what nature gave us.
It's natural. Yeah. From the do they how should I say this? Is because like I know the color from in whiskey, it's from the barrel, depending on the barrel. So the color is just how long is it aged usually?
Yeah, so the coloring, the brown always comes from the wood.
Okay.
It always does.
Yeah.
Ours, with the style of cognac that we do, minimum aging is about 40 years.
40?
40 years, yeah. So
this is 40 years old.
Well, this is 1973, so this is 47 years old.
Oh my gosh.
So our minimums, and this is interesting, because it used to take 40 years for something like this to age, to get to the point where we deemed it, ready, right? But things are changing now. There's, whether you want to believe the cause of what global warming is, whether it exists or not, we don't debate that. But something is changing the way that grapes are being grown, and something is changing the aging process. And it's not, maybe it's technology, maybe it's different processes, but there's something happening with the grapes themselves that are kind of changing. So while we do tend to age for a minimum of 40 years, could be changing, But in terms of right now, we have 2 1968s available, and a 1973.
Yeah, I because like now I feel bad because I was earlier. I'm like, oh, cheers, but like the story. Yeah, I'm a younger guy, but when it comes to because we're just used to like, oh, cheers,
Yeah,
and you pull it. But
See, the thing is, that's good for business. If I had more customers that just took shots and just replaced the bottle, that would make business go a lot faster.
There we go. Well, they still can do it, and they just come back to you, right?
Yeah, yeah. But that's the thing. A cognac, you really there's an intimacy with cognac. It's the same intimacy that you get with wine, where it's elegant and there's it's layered and it's complex. You can shoot it if you want to.
We're gonna
But-
appreciate. You told me
but-
it's 73. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna appreciate everything about it.
So on the nose, I mean, you can really smell it. There's this hints of like butterscotch, and almost like a vanilla bean. There's toffee, a little bit of like fresh espresso, tobacco. I mean, the list goes on. You smelling it?
I'm not gonna put what I smell in words because I'm not as elegant as you are.
And so, let's say we want to taste now, right? We've smelled it. The way to taste it is now we've warmed up a little bit, all right, with another cognac.
A little bit.
But if we didn't, the best thing to do is take just a little bit, just enough to like coat your tongue, and so kind of coat the front, the back. Let's kind of swirl it around, get your mouth, so your mouth, the pH and everything in your mouth is accustomed to what's going to happen to it next.
Yeah. Would you say the color is like an amber?
It's like it's like an amber gold, I guess you could say, and that has to do with the region as well, because we've got the other two, the Grand and Petit Champagne. The colors are all different. Yeah.
Yeah. No, this is very interesting to me.
And so we do like a little bit, and then swallow that, get some air, and then take your real sip, swirl it around, like chew on it, front, back, sides, really get into it.
No,
After
I love
all
the passion.
these years, I love it.
No, I love the passion.
I
No,
love
it's truly it's a sight to see because you have someone on the show that like they would do it for free. Like they would be in this industry if there was no paycheck at the end of the day. They just the love for it.
The love of cognac.
It's great to see.
So a little bit of heat.
Yeah, I feel a lot warmer.
It's warmer
Even
than the
just a
other
little
one we
bit.
had, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's integrated. So let's see. In cognac, in France actually, you get taxed by the amount of pure alcohol that you're selling.
Yeah.
All right. So when you're selling millions and millions and billions of cases, what do? You water it down to lower the ABV, so you pay less in taxes. And a lot of people do that. Because we're only moving so many bottles, we don't really do that. And so so the minimum legally is 40% in cognac.
You said this is 46. The other one was 46. How much is
That was 45.
That was 45.
2, and this is 46.2. So 46.2% alcohol. So it's powerful, it's strong, but we wait until it's integrated, and it doesn't feel out of place, doesn't feel disjointed. So there is a lot of alcohol there, but it's supported by the structure, by the fruit, by the acid. Very, very importantly. It's like wine. It has acid in it, holds the flavors together.
You asked me for like any word, but actually like now
I want to know what you think about the cognac. I want your this is your show.
Yeah, the best. It's a very broad word to use, but it smells sweet to me.
Yeah.
I can't give you vanilla. I can't give you, beeswax or honey or what that or
about
whatnot.
butterscotch?
But butterscotch.
Yeah.
I can smell. I can see that.
Yeah.
I can smell that.
I get it. There's a little bit of
Yeah. Now you mention it. Then again, it's a virgin nose compared to sophistication. So I'm happy that I can I have a map of what to look for.
Yeah, all it is it's just when I was studying for my exams and I'd be going to the grocery store and my friends or whoever I was with, they would laugh at me because I would smell everything.
Like the fruits.
Like
and
you smell the
everything.
fruits, the vegetables, some of the candies, the breads. You smell a ripe lemon versus an unripe lemon versus a rotten tomato versus a whatever it is, right? And you just kind of store that in there for later.
And you just draw that comparison.
And you draw the comparison, because I think a lot of like for yourself, I mean, I'm sure there's things that you're sensing it, but you don't have the connection yet to what that smell is. Maybe it's familiar, but you don't know what it is.
Yeah, and that's when you mentioned butterscotch, it actually I didn't think of that initially, but I do like smell it, and I'm not just saying it just to say it.
All right, here's a fun one. All right, you ready? When's the last? Okay, do you ever go to a carnival?
Like cotton candy?
Yeah. There's like a sponge sugar cotton candy and maybe like a kettle corn on the nose in there. See if you can find it. Like a dusty cotton candy machine.
Right? No, that sounds delicious. If it can be like liquid cotton candy, I feel like it sells itself.
And so that's the Framboise 1973. And so after tasting this, I just fell in love with it. I had to be a part of the dream. And so leaving a solid career and a solid company to do basically a startup, even though we've been around since the 1600s.
Yeah.
But the brand itself is considered, it's kind of a startup, right? And launching it, I decided in December 2019 that 2020 was going to be the year.
Yeah, I think a lot of people thought the same thing. This would be my year. I do want to ask, when it comes to the clientele, I think there is a very there's a lifestyle behind this.
Absolutely,
right? There's a type of person that drinks this. I want to hear about that.
Yeah, when I worked with other brands, the name of the game was sell as much as you can.
Yes.
Right. Whereas with even a luxury product, it's sell as much as you can. With something like this, I'm a little bit specific on who we actually market to, and what accounts I'll actually target to place it. With 4,700 bottles, and that's for the world. That's not just for the States.
I was going to say 47, right? It does not sound like very much.
Yeah, it's not. It's not a lot. So it's not something I'm trying to get into every single nightclub and every single restaurant or things like that. It's really a product designed for the discerning wine or spirits drinker. And I've had a lot of luck with wine people, because wine people tend to understand vintages a little bit better than spirits people.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think it's just a programming of the mind where spirits don't really have vintages. And so they're used to being told it's a 12 or it's an 18 or it's a 30 or it's a VSOP or it's an XO. When someone in the spirits world sees a 1973, they'll assume it's a wine.
I can see that.
And so wine drinkers, specifically Bordeaux and Burgundy collectors, and Champagne also, understand two things: terroir, and so terroir is the environment in which the wine is grown. So terroir will consist of the weather, temperature, soil type, mountains, or whatever you want to call it. Everything that involves the growth of the vine is terroir. And wine people tend to understand that a little bit better. And so I've approached a lot of wine buyers and wine collectors, and they've really, really enjoyed it. Now, and it does cost a little bit of a premium because of its rarity and because of our production costs. So it's a specific type of wine and spirits buyer.
Yeah, I really like this. This is a nice crash course for me. This is everything you're saying. I'm just gonna soak it up with like a sponge, because
it's going to happen midnight tonight. You're going to say, I should have asked him that question while he was sitting in the chair.
Yeah, this is good. No, I feel that it's just like doing research. I only could read so much online, and I mean, you can get all the information you can, but the nuances.
Did you do any cognac research before today?
I tried. I did some last night and today. I told you I watched that. It was a wine. I'm not going to mention it on air, but I watched Uncork last night on Netflix. It's not bad.
It gets you in the mood, right? It gets you in the mood to drink something nice, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if this is a question, you don't have to answer it. When it comes to one of these bottles, these are one of my questions I wrote down. How much do one of these bottles usually go for?
So the retail price is 3,800,
Okay.
and there's three marks. So there's a 1968 Grand Champagne, a 1968 Petite Champagne, and a 1973 Framboise. And I priced them all the same.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is because I know how our minds work. If one was 4,500 and the
Yeah.
other one was 38 and the other one was 35, if you had all the money in the world, you would just buy the more expensive one because you think that's the best one.
But that's not necessarily
It's not
the
necessarily
case.
the case.
Yeah.
There's three different personalities, so I priced them all the same so that you can actually just choose which one you think is the best.
Mm-hmm.
And it is as stocks start to kind of deplete themselves, maybe the prices will fluctuate a little bit. I don't know. But as of right now, I wanted our guests and our consumers to freely enjoy which one they actually really enjoy. And so we set the pricing there.
And there is obviously, so there's a finite amount, and how much does that affect the pricing?
So you think about it this way: any kind of production, right? You take the price of raw materials, the cost of production, the cost of labor, and you divide it by the amount of units produced, and that's how you come up with your pricing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're selling millions of cases, you got a lot of numbers to divide by. Where you have the production of 4,000 bottles, 4,700 bottles. That's why it's priced the way it is.
Once it's out, it's out.
Once it's out, it's out. And it's dividing by the same production. Cognac's really expensive to produce.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, hey Chris, let's start a business together. Okay, we'll invest our money in 2020 and we'll pull our first profit in 2060. How does that sound?
I wouldn't do it, but I mean, maybe my grandkids, but my kids, they might enjoy like the fruits of, like, no pun intended, the fruits of labor, right?
That's a good one.
Right? Yeah.
But yeah, so the pricing, we want to make what we can on it, and we do understand that it's you pay a premium for it. But if you understand where that comes from, it's not like we're overhyping and we're trying to spend all this money on marketing. You're paying for the actual juice inside of it.
I think for the story, the uniqueness, the rarity, it depends who you ask. I mean, if you ask like the average Joe or the average Jane, oh, that's a lot of money. But I think the people that like collect, or the people that come, I don't want to say come from wealth, but like people that are more willing to spend money on alcohol and these things, the finer things in life, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it's out of the question.
Yeah, I think it depends on, if you accomplish something in your life and you want to celebrate that. There's two people, right? There's the person who really wants to show something off, and so they'll get something that everybody knows.
Yeah.
And then there's the person who wants the thing that no one knows what it is.
I've been there sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking if someone gets married, right? I feel like you don't want to just bring like a cheap bottle. Like you really want to be like, oh, this guy's getting hopefully just married once in his life, and you want to share something with the boys. You want to share something nice. You don't want to. A $30 bottle is not really going to do it, right? It's not very memorable.
And when you get within certain circles, of wealthy people, and it just happens that our clients tend to be well-heeled.
Yeah, I would definitely.
If all of your friends have the same private jet and the same Rolls Royce and the same, Crimea River, right? It sometimes that's what drives the want for something that's equally as high in quality, if not more so, but that nobody knows what it is. To become that next, oh, you've never heard of this, kind of thing.
I think that's when, because once it sells out, like money can't really buy another one.
Exactly, and that's a good point. That's what I tell my customers, my clients. It sounds like a sales pitch, and it kind of is.
It doesn't sound like. No, I appreciate this. I'm not just trying to like butter you up.
That's what I say. Is that, look, if you love, like, let's say a lot of my collectors tend to love the 68 Grand Champagne. Right? We made 903 bottles of that, and I say, if you like it, if I were you, I'd pick up at least one more, because once it's gone, I can't make. Even if you said, Jesus, I've got $3 million, make me another one. I can't. It's gone.
You got to wait. No, and even if you wait 40 years, it's not going to be the same one.
It's not going to be in 1968.
Yeah.
So it's one of these things where it's fun to produce the vintages, because we have vintages that are going to be released in the next coming years, and you can add to your collection instead of buying one thing over and over again. You can have a collection of Les Antiquaires du Cognac. You have the 68s, the 73s, the 82s, or whatever they're going to be, and you can have a library of them.
So what I'm hearing is that you should buy one to share with people and show off, and one to collect.
And one to collect.
Yeah, so
at least.
At least. No, I think that, no, why not, right? Because I've been there before, because they have these like specialty whiskeys. I'm a whiskey guy. I'm pretty biased. Have you heard of Cavalon from Taiwan?
Taiwanese, yeah.
Yeah, so specifically the Consul Master. It's
Okay.
the green one. I really like that.
Is that the one that comes in the round tube?
No, it's depends which bottle. So, but this one is more. It's like it's a green one. It has like really fine lines.
Okay.
Green bottle with white letters that says Cavalon. And when I said that this is nice, this is really delicious. But yeah, as far as that goes, I wanted to talk about other types of alcohol.
Okay.
Like, did you ever venture, or do you plan on venturing into whiskey, tequila, vodka?
In terms of professionally getting into it, or drinking it?
Well, both. Like, I would say, I think drinking is one thing, but professionally, I know that people do change. But is that something that you ever will consider?
I thought about it because vodka is it's a really broad category. Everybody's got a vodka now, and then after Clooney sold Casamigos for a cool $1 billion.
I actually saw a truck on the drive here.
Oh, with the
Casamigo truck. I was just like, he
sold it for $1 billion, or $4 billion or $1 billion, somewhere
couple
around there.
billion,
couple
yeah,
billion
yeah.
dollars. I mean, that's insane. And so what happened after this? Everybody released tequila brand. You go, okay, so everyone's got vodka, everyone's got tequila. Cognac for me, it was, believe it or not really a money making strategy. It's because I love cognac, and so if I were to get into another spirit to make money, honestly, I'd probably get into some of these, like the seltzer, the hard seltzer things.
Oh yeah.
I mean that's a huge business, and you can crush those. I mean, you can crush a case of those in an hour.
Yeah, I feel like everybody, like Corona has one, Bud Light has one, and then going back to tequila, because I know The Rock just came out with like Terramana, his tequila brand. So I feel like if anybody wants to jump on tequila, you already missed the train.
Tequila's already gone.
Yeah.
Tequila's already gone. And tequila's very similar to cognac in the sense that it's not really easy to grow to make tequila. I mean, you have to grow the agave, and the agave takes years for it. You plant it, and it takes years for it to become mature to make it. So it's not like if we wanted to start a vodka brand, we could go somewhere, buy ready-made juice and distilled, and then just put our label on it and call it.
Yeah.
Tequila, you can kind of do that, but not really, especially one good tequila.
Yeah, I think the entire field is fascinating. Because once you learn everything into what goes in the bottle, it's you see it differently. You have a different appreciation for it. And then for the people that are watching and they want to kind of do what you do, get into your industry, what would you recommend them to start?
It's a good question. When people ask me all the time, what does it take to become? They think it's some superpower to be able to tell, taste, and smell things. But it's practice, But it's how much. If you wanted to be a great basketball player, right? You have to live and breathe and eat and sleep basketball. You have to practice your free throws and your jump shots and everything. And being in wine is no different. You have to constantly be tasting. If you decide to drink, you have to be able to remember what it was that you drank. I have this gift. The only gift probably that I have is I can drink all night and remember what I drank.
Oh, you're multifaceted.
that was the thing. So, I can drink 4 bottles of wine and remember. Okay, that first one was that was a French Syrah, blah blah blah. I'll tell you about it. But moving forward, that's really what it is. You dedicate your entire life to learning about it. It's not really something you can. I don't want to say half-ass. Can I say half-ass?
No, you can say half-ass.
Okay, you can't really half-ass it because, well, then you're just being a half-ass some. I mean, so there's people that I know that are not. They have the sommelier certification, like a little pin that they like to wear.
I saw that. Yeah.
But they don't work in restaurants. And I'm going to get the support from a lot of sommeliers online right now by saying this. But if you have the pin and you've never, cut your hands from polishing 1,000 glasses at 1 o'clock in the morning, or if you've never torn your suit because they make you wear a suit while you're lifting cases of wine, you're not a sommelier. You're not a sommelier, right? So it's really something. If you want to become proficient in this field, you have to live it, you have to breathe it, you have to love it, you have to, do everything and focus on it. Otherwise, I mean, what are you really doing?
So do people just get it for the title sometimes?
I feel like there's people that love wine, and it's awesome. I mean, I got nothing against people doing it, because it broadens their understanding and their appreciation for wine. So instead of just liking Pinot Noir, right, if they decide that they take this class and they learn everything about Pinot Noir and the different regions and the different countries, and they start exploring their curiosity about wine, I think that's awesome. But you don't really have to take the certification because there's a lot of stuff you don't need to learn. Like when you learn about wine, it's not about the bottle, right? It's you have to learn a little bit about biology, chemistry, world history. You have to learn about all kinds of things. There's a little bit of language barriers too. You have to learn words that are like in Italian and French and German. And so it's a lot of knowledge that 90% of your consumers don't care about, but you have to just know it in order to understand why it's significant. So if anyone wants to chase this profession, they got to be ready for long hours, bad pay, not bad pay, but difficult. A lot of the positions are hourly and tipped. So especially in Los Angeles, it gets kind of tricky.
Weekends.
Weekends and holidays. Man. Working hospitality. It would 12 to 14-hour days, 6-7 days a week was normal.
Oh my,
So while all the guests are enjoying the restaurant, we're the ones working. So we're there Christmas, especially in hotels, we don't close, right? So Christmas, New Year's, Thanksgiving. I missed weddings and birthdays and graduations and anniversaries because you're working, When
I was growing up, I worked at my buddy's. His parents owned a Chinese restaurant. So yeah, exactly. Like Christmas Eve, busiest day. Every Friday, Saturday.
Chinese restaurants, Thanksgiving, Christmas is really busy.
Yeah, I was like, and then every major holiday expect to work, but that comes with the territory.
Yeah.
I think I have a bigger appreciation of what you do compared to the next one, because I used to bus tables, I used to wait tables, and I oversaw a kitchen. I don't tell anybody this, but I had to make sure all the food orders were correct. I did like healthy meal prep delivery service up in Seattle. And pretty much like quality control. I got to make sure we get it out in time. I got to make sure Joe is getting his food right. Like, is everything to the order? And it takes a lot of focus. And I worked every major holiday, pretty much most weekends. But at the end of the day, it's pretty rewarding. I think there's love that kind of goes into food. There's love that goes into the alcohol.
In hospitality, I'll tell you this one. This is my favorite hospitality story. One thing I noticed working in hospitality is guys are really bad with proposals and proposal ideas.
Oh, like rings?
Yeah, well, like, I'll give you an example. I can't tell you how many times someone would come. So I was working at the Montage Hotel at the time, and the guys would come up to me and they would say, hey, I'm going to propose to my girlfriend tonight, and I have this as the ring, and can you put it like in a glass of champagne? I said, no, I'm not going to do that, man.
Really? They still do that?
They still do that. Can you put it like in the dessert? Like, no, I'm not going to put that in the dessert. So I have this friend. I'm not going to call him out online.
Some very basic movements.
And so he says, hey, he's coming. Hey, geez, I'm going to propose to his girlfriend, and what would it take for me to do like a really cool proposal like at your place? I said, man, we've been friends for a long time. Just give me your budget, whatever you want, whatever you're comfortable spending, and I'll take care of the rest. And so he says, he comes in, he goes, okay, what if we do this? What if we do that? And I was like, no, just leave it to me, because I get a thrill from the perfect guest experience. So he comes in, and the restaurant was Scarpetta at the time, and I had cleared out a section of the restaurant and put a booth kind of up high. And so they had kind of this looking down upon their kingdom kind of booth, right?
Who doesn't like that?
It was awesome.
It's like a movie.
And so she just thought it was, like a fun dinner, and I'm visiting my friend at work, and so we're getting this treatment because I'm his, we're friends. And so I told him, like, when you guys sit down, don't do anything. Just pretend it's regular dinner. You'll know when it's time to do your thing. And he goes, okay, just relax and have dinner. I'll take care of everything. So they go through everything. They go through dinner, and the mains are cleared. And before dessert is put on a table, I walk up to the table and said, hey, we just finished remodeling the pool upstairs and the rooftop. It's not open yet, but do you guys want to take like a small tour? I'll give you a sneak peek of it. And, she was like, yeah, okay, let's.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah, who wouldn't want to go for it? Okay, so leave all your things here. Everything's safe. Come with me to the elevator. I want to show you the rooftop. She goes, okay. So I take them to the private elevator, with the whole key and private elevator thing. They get in. We go up to the roof. The elevator opens up, and in the corner of the rooftop, overlooking all of like Rodeo Drive and everything, there was one table, and I had it decked out with some flowers and candles and stuff like that. And the pool was right there in the view, and I walked them to their table and left them alone, and he did his thing.
Really?
And, and so she was just kind of like shocked. Like, whoa, what is this table for? She's kind of looked around like, who is this for? And so I walked them to the table. They sat down. Then we left. We vanished into the shadows.
Uh-huh.
They did their thing, and she said yes. Oh, thank God.
Thank gosh, yeah.
She had to at that point. How awesome was that?
That's you giving me ideas, like.
And so we all kind of hid in the shadows, and she said yes, and we came out there with like a nice bottle of Cristal and everything for them, and that took me 15 minutes. She's gonna remember that for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
And it's that kind of experience that makes you want to stay in hospitality. That the long hours don't matter anymore. The missing what you're missing in your life doesn't matter anymore, because look at what you're doing for other people.
Because you enjoy doing it. At the end of the day.
Man. Like that perfect guest experience. I get goosebumps thinking about that perfect guest experience, man.
No, that's a really cool idea. So I'm happy we can give some people, rather than can you put the ring in the champagne? No, we're gonna, or the cake. I don't get, like, you spend so much money in a ring and you put it in the cake.
Put it in the cake. Yeah, this is weird. And you gotta do this.
You get some chocolate on that ring. No, and she's got to put it on. But I wanted to have people contact you. What's the if we had to for inquiries?
Yeah.
What's the best way for people to reach you for the cognac? Your services, anything else? What's the best
email address. It's Les Antiquaires du Cognac, so we'll probably have to write that one down.
Yeah, I'll put everything in the description box. I'll put your contact info in. But yeah, as far as your preferred method.
Yeah, email is great. I tend to stare at my computer all the time, so via Facebook or anything like that.
Okay.
I'm redoing the Instagram, so there's nothing on there right now.
Okay.
But yeah, Facebook or email is really the best.
Yeah, definitely. And once you get the Instagram up, I'll put it in the description box as well. And
put my phone number out there.
Do you want? No, you feel free to. Yeah, you might get some calls middle of the night, but I wanted to thank you so much for coming onto the show today and just like educating not only me but for the people that watch about cognac.
Oh, my pleasure.